Hello again, this is Pupu Noob, and I have another interview, but this time it's not a game developer, but he's making gaming hardware, which is a first for this channel. We have Albert from Croatia. How are you, Albert?
Hey, great. I'm great.
So he is the founder, the project lead, the guy for the company and product called MAKERbuino. So MAKERbuino, as you can see, he's holding it up there, is a DIY game console, which is like a portable thing. So yes, but before all that, let's get to know you better, and so that the audience know you better as well. What are your favorite games that you like to play?
Some of my favorite games, perhaps I like those old retro games the most, like Tetris and Space Invaders. I usually play some retro games like those, and I'm not much of a fan of the newer games because takes most of my time, so I just can't cope with the newest releases.
Right.
What about you? What are your favorite games?
Oh, there's so many. I grew up on Sega Genesis, but I got so I love Sonic and all the shmups. I grew up on all the shmups and Sonic, but then the console that really got me into gaming seriously was the PlayStation 1, because that is where I first played all the RPGs like Final Fantasy 8, 9, Legend of Dragoon, all the Japanese RPGs. So and The Witcher 3, I guess, is like my most recent new favorite game. So that was really awesome. Okay.
Great.
Yes, tell us about your project, MAKERbuino. What is it?
Okay, so MAKERbuino, it's a game console, but it's not the usual stuff. It's not the mainstream game consoles like PlayStation and Nintendo and some similar things, because you can assemble it yourself. So basically, you get a box with electronic components. You have to assemble the thing using your soldering iron and following the tutorials online. And the main point is that it's educational. So it's aiming on connecting the love that most children and young people feel towards gaming devices with love towards electronics, programming, DIY electronics makers, and the whole maker movement and everything. So yeah, that would be it.
Nice. And it's 8-bit, correct? And there's gonna have some pre-installed simple games, and basically people can program their own games as well.
Yeah. So the whole thing is 8-bit, it's retro, and it comes with this SD card. So when you assemble the thing, it already comes with the SD card with 25 pre-programmed games that were community made and made by me and my project collaborators, so that you can start playing right away. And more games can be downloaded online. So we are trying to make this community aspect possible in the way that you can code your own games using our open source tools and tutorials, and share it with other makers and download games that other makers have made online.
So what programming language will the games be coded in?
So the whole thing is based on Arduino. I don't know if you have heard of that, but that's based on C and C++. So basically, it's a text-based programming language. It's not that hard to learn, but it might be a challenge to new users. So if it's your first time programming, then you would probably like more using something like Scratch that has a graphical user interface. And Arduino C and C++ is a bit more advanced for a bit more advanced users. So that would be for teenagers and up. And younger children, they should probably use something that's using drag and drop blocks. Nice.
So you're 18, which is really young. You just got out of high school. You haven't even started college yet, right?
So I'm still in high school. So I'm still finished my high school, and I'm going to a gymnasium. So it's a type of school that does not have anything that's related to technical culture or engineering of some sort. So basically, all these things, MAKERbuino, electronics, PCB designing, I learned it myself online, and I'm doing it for 7 years, I think. Wow. I was going on various robotics competitions and everything. And my family is pretty much they encouraged my passion towards electronics and everything. My father, he's a mechanical engineer, so he didn't know anything about electronics, but he saw me liking the whole thing, and he wasn't like when I told him I want to make a Kickstarter, I want to make a crowdfunding campaign, I want to make a company. He didn't tell me you're 18, you're crazy, you're too young for that. He just took out his camera and he was picturing me while launching the Kickstarter campaign, and he got me interested in the whole project and supporting me financially and everything. So yeah. I'm pretty young, but I'm trying to do something out of this thing. So our Kickstarter campaign now is pretty successful, and the thing that surprised us the most is that we've got backers from United States the most. So they are giving away their money for a game console made by an 18-year-old from Croatia. So they probably don't know where Croatia actually is. They probably think it's a part of Russia or Yugoslavia. So yeah.
So the Kickstarter have multiple tiers for rewards. So different amounts of money, and you get different items. Can you just roughly describe like the different tiers and what you get in those different tiers?
Yeah, of course. So we have this standard early bird tier. That early bird tier, it was limited to 100 fastest backers, and it was a discounted game console for just $30, and it will ship in April. So this month we will ship the game consoles right away after the campaign ends. And there's this standard perk where you get a MAKERbuino, and it's $35. It ships in May. We also have a multiplayer perk that comes with 2 game consoles like this, but unassembled, of course. And you get a multiplayer link cable so that you can link the game consoles together. You see the game console, it has these 2 orange yellowish ports, and they're used for connecting them for multiplayer gaming. So it's like the old Game Boy that could be linked with a game cable. We got some requests from people that don't like soldering and would like just to program their MAKERbuino. So we offered an assembled kit version where our workers pre-assemble the game console and send it like that. We also have a pre-assembled multiplayer version, and we also decided to offer some larger packs. So we have this pack called the Party Pack, where you get 5 game consoles with some goodies like additional button caps and party hats and stuff like that. So it's imagined like if you want to make a maker party with making MAKERbuino game consoles, and it was basically an experiment, and people really liked the idea and were actually ordering those things. We also decided to make some educational packs where you get 10 game consoles if you want to make a workshop and some educational material. And there's this super backer pack, which we decided to. So usually when you look at the Kickstarter campaign, there is this ultra crazy super pack that costs a lot of money, and we decided to offer game consoles packed with additional hardware and with additional tools and with a preview of our next project. So we have lots of projects in preparation, and people were actually buying that thing. So yeah, we have lots of perks, because usually when you read some tutorials about how to make your Kickstarter campaign, it is recommended to make lots of perks so that people choose whatever they want.
So you mentioned that a lot of your backers are from the United States. So the one thing that a lot of successfully funded Kickstarters, they have like physical rewards. Even like it's a game, they have like T-shirts and all that to send. A lot of the time, they did not see like the shipping costs and they just when there's so many backers and then they found out that the shipping cost is so expensive, they'll just lose money, and they always have trouble fulfilling physical shipment. Was that something that you thought about early, and how are you gonna uh, handle that problem basically?
Yeah, that's actually that's true. A lot of Kickstarter campaigns actually also fail to deliver their rewards,
Right.
or
A lot, yeah.
sometimes they do it not on time. And I think we are pretty much ready, and we thought everything through. Because you see, Kickstarter, I think a year ago, they introduced the new options. So every reward has a special section, a shipping section, and that shipping section you can take a look at your shipping costs from your country and enter the shipping costs for different countries. So every country you order from has a special shipping cost from a table. So I think so. Basically, those shipping costs are added on the same on the price of the game console of the perk you ordered, and they are calculated based on the mass. So shipping cost for one game console is not the same as shipping for two game consoles. So I think there will be no problems with no hidden costs in regards to shipping. Also, we've calculated everything like packaging and some other additional costs that might appear, and we have pretty much experience selling MAKERbuinos because we've sold 150 units before the actual Kickstarter campaign. That was the beta testing period where
Right.
we just put the thing on our web shop and people were buying it despite it was a beta version, and it was also a great feedback to get the feedback straight from the actual user. Some other things about MAKERbuino. You see, it's really easy to produce and scale the production of MAKERbuino because this thing, as I already told you before, it comes in a kit. So
Right.
you get a box with components. We actually don't have to assemble the things, except for those game consoles that come pre-assembled. But
Right.
usually people actually just 10% of backers and buyers bought that thing, and it's really not that hard to assemble it. So the main point is in building it yourself, and people get that, and we mostly produce unassembled kits. And that production of unassembled kits is easily scalable because the only thing you need are a bunch of people that just have two hands and their fingers, no special knowledge, and they are just putting components in tiny bags. So no special machine assembly, no nothing. So it's really easy. If needed, our whole city will just build MAKERbuinos. So yeah, I think we'll manage to get the assembly on time done. And actually, we already started assembling the early bird kits. Despite our Kickstarter campaign has 17 days to go, we just
Right.
I personally dislike Kickstarter campaigns that deliver their rewards a year or 6 months
Very
after
late. Yeah.
campaign. So you are waiting and waiting and waiting, and it's kind of it negatively affects your brand because all the hype goes down and everything. So this way we tend to keep the project alive. So we will send the rewards in April and May. So basically a month after the Kickstarter campaign ends, we will get feedback straight away, and the people will be posting it over their social media, telling about what they like or dislike about the game console. And yeah, so I hope this answers your question. Yeah.
So there's actually another company that is doing a product called GameBuino that looks very similar to the MAKERbuino, and it came before. It's a smaller version, correct? And I believe that you got your idea and inspiration from them, and you actually worked with them. So
Yeah.
what kind of help did they give, and
Okay, so-
what impressed you so much about GameBuino that you wanted to start your own?
So Game Bueno it was a project from 2014. It was featured on Indiegogo, and at that time I was still experimenting with microcontrollers and electronics and programming. I was still kind of learning, and this project, it kind of motivated me to start making my own smart devices, because when I saw what could be done with a simple microcontroller, I really like the idea of building my own game console. But you see, Game Bueno, it comes already assembled. So it's machine assembled, and it's made and designed for enthusiasts who plan to code their own retro games on a special game platform that's open source and stuff like that. And I thought like, okay, that was cool, but I want to assemble it myself. I want to make my own, I want to actually make my own game console. So I started experimenting with some tutorials online and some parts from eBay and stuff. And actually, I learned that despite I was a 15-year-old kid from Croatia, I could build my own game consoles from scratch, and I really like the idea. So I started making my own first Game Bueno clones, and later in 2016 the idea came because I was taking my old prototypes to various festivals, and people actually really like the idea. So I decided to try and launch my project on the market as a DIY gaming device, because the whole growing maker movement, the whole explosion of STEM teaching tools and stuff like that, it just motivated me to try and do something like this, because I thought it would be suitable for market, and market will actually want something like that. And this Kickstarter campaign of ours, where we got already 500 sold units and over $25,000 raised, is just a proof of concept that these DIY kits like this one is actually something that the market wants. Our project, so in some earlier stages of development, I showed it to the project creator of Game Bueno, and he really liked the idea, and we started collaborating. That's why Makerbuino and Game Bueno, they are code compatible. In other words, you can play the same games and the same code and use the same code libraries to code games for this one and for this one. That way, we have some kind of an alternative. Makerbuino for the ones that want to make the game console themselves, and a Game Bueno for the ones that just want to code it.
Is the specifications almost similar? The internal hardware?
It's basically the similar. The processor strength and the screen, as you see, the screen is the same. The Nokia screen. Makerbuino has a slightly larger battery, and its components are, as you can see, bigger. So the components are bigger because so that you can assemble them with hand. Game Bueno, it uses tiny components that are pre-assembled by machines. Also, Makerbuino, it uses standard SD cards, not the micro SD cards, because micro SD slots are pretty hard to solder by hand. And Makerbuino has some add-ons like backlight control, hardware backlight control, and a volume control, headphone jack, and some extra pins so that you can connect additional hardware. So we try to make Makerbuino hackable as possible, so that you can connect modules and tiny wires and connect it with your breadboard, so that you can plug in LEDs and additional joysticks and stuff like that.
Nice. Okay, so when you started your Kickstarter, the goal was 10,000, right? And within a few days, you got 20,000, double your goal. Are you surprised by the interest? Has this changed? Has this changed your goal for Makerbuino, or changed the scaling at all?
Well, yeah, we were quite surprised because just in 2.5 days we reached our goal, and Kickstarter featured us. So they gave us this heart badge, the tiny project we love badge, and we were really surprised because we didn't think we would get that much interest. So we had some kind of an idea of how market would react because we were taking MakerBuino to festivals and shows and giving speeches about it, and people were really like, okay, great project. They were rooting for us, but we weren't actually sure if the people would actually give us money for that. Okay, so a lot of people tell you, okay, that's a nice project, but I don't need it. But this success, it actually kind of surprised us because all of those backers in such a short time, as you can see from our Kickstarter goal, that was only $10,000. We were thinking, we weren't expecting this popularity, that much popularity. Recently, we got featured on Mashable, and that also surprised us because
I saw that one.
yeah, people actually like the project. So now we are, it changed some things in scaling because we had to renegotiate with our suppliers and find additional suppliers for some components because now we've got over 500 units sold and maybe there's 17 days to go. I don't know how much units will be in the end. So yeah, we are finding new suppliers, new amounts of components, and we are actually hiring some additional labor force and also known as your friends and cousins and everybody else. So they will all be assembled.
Family is the cheapest labor, right?
Yeah, exactly. The MakerBuinos. Yeah, by the way, MakerBuino, it's assembled by us at our workshop here in Croatia. So most companies, they usually outsource everything in China and some other companies alike, and some other countries alike. But we decided to remain here in Croatia, so to produce.
Is there a reason for that? Is it just quality control, so that you're local, you can actually visit the factories and stuff?
Yeah, quality control is one of the reasons, but also as I already told you, MakerBuino is quite easy to produce. So you know special machines like you need for machine assembly of electronic components. Here that is not needed, so it is kind of cheaper to produce it over here with your friends and cousins and nephews and some other people, because they are actually backers who really like the project and they are asking for visiting our workshop, and they are really eager to help us in the production. And to be honest, it is actually it is more profitable to pay your cousins low money than paying the Chinese low money. So you are paying them in hugs and kisses. So that is also. But yeah, quality control and the ease of assembly, that would be the main reasons.
Right. So so MakerBuino is apart from being like something that a lot of people in the maker community like to do or assemble, you are also positioning it as an educational tool. So when you were doing that, positioning it, what were you thinking about regarding like what people can actually learn assembling it and programming for it?
Okay, so while developing MakerBuino, and the whole idea behind it was this: children and young people today, they really like video games, and they spend a lot of time in front of video games. They have smartphones, they have Angry Birds, they have computers, PlayStations, and we were thinking, what if those children and people would take a bit of that time spent playing video games and could spend it learning something new, something educational, something useful, like electronics, robotics. Okay, just give me a minute.
No problem.
Okay, we were talking about
Educational.
educational.
The educational aspect. Yeah, like what do you think can people learn and all that?
Okay,
You,
maybe.
you were mentioning young kids and young adults.
Yeah. Maybe I should
like
start
video
again.
games.
Okay, so the main idea behind MakerBuino, children and people, they spend a lot of time playing video games, smartphones, computers, PlayStations, everything. What if they take just a bit of that time and spend it learning science, technology, engineering, mathematics? How do you achieve that? As I already said in my Kickstarter video, you take an educational device, a game console, and you take a game console and disguise it as an educational device. So MakerBuino, it is a game console, but its intended purpose is to educate and motivate people to learn something new, to learn something about electronics, about robotics. So this game console, it comes unassembled, and the children, they really like its games, everything, and they just can't wait to assemble the MakerBuino. That way they actually don't realize that they've learned something useful on that way, on that experience. So the things that you can learn with MakerBuino are some basic electronic knowledge. So like distinguishing which electronic component is which. Our build guide, it is also written the way so that you can learn something about those electronics. For example, the build guide told you, okay, you have to find this and that resistor, you have to put it over there, you have to solder it, and then it explains this resistor is used in an amplifier circuit of the game console and something like that. So we intend to not only explain how to assemble the thing, but also to educate the people about what parts of the game consoles do what. So basically, you're learning while having fun with MakerBuino. Lots of these electronic kits, the electronic kits, the soldering kits, they are nothing new. They are present on the market for 20 or 30 years or even more. But those kits are really, really old and they're not fun. So you go to the electronics store, you want something to teach your kid electronics, and they only have those buzzers and an FM radio and something like that. That's not fun in today's 21st century. But MakerBuino, it's intended to change that. So a game console that you can actually assemble yourself. Something that wants to motivate you not to learn soldering because it is useful, but so that you can apply actual knowledge on building some actual devices. I'm learning to solder so that I can solder my own game console. I'm learning programming so that I can program my own games. That's the whole point, learning by creating. Right. Some other things that you can learn from MakerBuino, you can improve your soldering skills and your soldering technique, and you can actually code the games on your actual gaming device you assembled yourself after you assemble it. So we are currently writing tutorials explaining how to code some basic games, and this will be a first step in coding your own video games for newbies. So that's the main idea.
Right. So can people buy MakerBuino after the Kickstarter? Are you planning on making it, a regular product that people can buy anytime they want?
Yeah, exactly. So Kickstarter, it is usually imagined as a way to kickstart some project, some product, right, some company, which will then find a way to produce and promote and sell the product on regular basis. And we also hope that will be the case with MakerBuino. And after the Kickstarter campaign in late May or probably in early June or July, we will start selling MakerBuinos in our web shop on regular basis. We are also getting lots of requests from resellers, so we will try to sell it in various shops, not only our web shop. And yeah, we will try to make a production out of it, a production process, and to get enough components and parts so that we can send it on, so that we can sell it and send it via post on regular basis. So yeah, that's the idea.
Nice. So, last question. What do you see yourself doing in the future? Are you gonna continue to expand MakerBuino, like adding more add-ons, coming up with a MakerBuino 2, or are you more looking forward to starting out new prototypes, new projects?
So now we are actually registering a company. So our company is not existing yet because bureaucracy still has to finish some papers. But we tend to make a company that will then unite all of my ideas and publish them on market under the same name. So I have lots of various ideas about various electronic products and projects that I would like to kickstart and crowdfund in near future. And my goal and my plan is to make some other DIY kits as well. So this Kickstarter campaign, as I already said, it's kind of like a proof of concept, saying that market wants MakerBuino kits and DIY kits of the same sort. That way, I have lots of electronic kits and DIY kits ideas that I would like to publish and promote and kickstart in the near future. For example, my next project that I'm already developing it is a DIY phone. So the idea behind that is like assembling your own game console. You can basically assemble your own smartphone or a feature phone. So it would be
cool.
Yeah, it would be really cool if you could come, I don't know, to a bar and take your phone out. So that's actually a phone I've assembled myself. And that would be really learning by creating, because you would be creating something useful and something that can be used on daily basis, like MakerBuino, only a bit better. So that's the idea. There was also this idea of making a DIY smartwatch project. Actually, I have one prototype unit over here. Those were all prototypes I was developing before the actual start of the Kickstarter campaign. So this is ultra confidential, some smartwatches, but
nice. It's really
there's
cool.
Also an idea of making a DIY smartwatch, because the only way if I want to succeed on the market, I cannot recreate or compete with, for example, Apple Watches or with Nintendo or with Samsung. Me and my couple of collaborators, we cannot make a new iPhone or a new Apple Watch, but we can make a similar product that uses this different idea behind it, the DIY thing, the DIY aspect. And that's what we try to emphasize while developing our projects and publishing it on Kickstarter. So that's the main idea. So yeah, many more projects in the future, and I hope to I hope to grow my business and make a living of it one day.
Awesome. I totally forgot. There is one more question I want to ask you. It's because I've seen people commenting about this on a lot of different projects, especially when it comes to DIY game console, gaming machine. The one thing that I see people say is, why don't I just get a Raspberry Pi?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. Okay, so you see, Raspberry Pi, while building game consoles with Raspberry Pi, people usually only emulate games. So they are building emulators and emulation game consoles. With MakerBuino, the concept is a bit different. Here, every game you see, for example, these, what's this, Space Invaders. So I have Space Invaders, they're shooting, okay, but I can go to the MakerBuino Games Gallery and download download the Space Invaders in the form of a source code. So every game is actually written for the MakerBuino, available with the source code, so that you can look at that source code, learn something from it, and maybe take a part of that source code and implement it in your own games. With the Raspberry Pi, after you build that emulator and the emulation game console, your learning experience kind of ends, because you cannot program your own games, you cannot look at the game's code, you cannot learn anything from the game, actually from the game's code, because everything you get is just the executable file, the ROM you put on your emulator, and there's nothing you can do with the code. So that would be the main advantage over the Raspberry Pi, and the main difference. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much, Albert, for spending time with us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So yeah. You can check out all the links below. The Kickstarter link will be below. Your Twitter as well. You can follow them. Check it out. It's like another 16 days. When this interview goes up, it will still have more than 10 days. There's more than enough time to check out the project and back it if you're interested in it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening to the people who are watching and listening. And thank you very much to Albert for spending time with us. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.